Hello ladies and gents, Donat here with another auction house video. In today's episode we will have a look at price and profit ranges, and we will also put the theory in practice by looking at a random example. This might be a little bit dry, but I feel this is important to talk about as well. Luckily this video will be the last of the auction house basics, and from now on we will focus more on actual recipes. Before we get started, however, I wanted to make a quick remark on my gold balance. I managed to get 3 upgrades for my wizard through bidding. Although these items were quite pricey and I spent almost all of my gold, I think I made some good deals and I'm already above 20 million in a week thanks to these basic auction house techniques. That settled, let's get started on today's subject. The first thing I want you to realize is that nothing is carved into stone and that your own strategy will and has to evolve following the size of your budget and the changes of the market. The basic guidelines will however remain the same, and we will have a look at these right now. The very first question you have to ask yourself is, how much profit per transaction would I like to make? This is entirely up to you, and it will largely depend on your current budget. Obviously, someone on a larger budget will want to have a larger profit per transaction than someone who is completely broke. You should also consider how much risk you are willing to take. Flipping with low to mid-range items is pretty safe with a bit of practice, and the worst that can happen is that you end up around break-even. At the same time, if you are unexperienced or have a balance below 1 million, it's probably best to stick to around 100k profit per transaction for your baseline. Now what does this actually mean? Based on our previous videos, we are looking for underpriced items for around half their actual value or less. So let's say if your profit margin is minimum 100k, you are for example looking at items worth around 250k or more that cost around 100k or less. So if you find such a deal, you are guaranteed some nice profit. Now you might have realized that although I said we are looking for items half their price or less, I gave you a 250k price range instead of saying 200k for the item's actual value. We have here 3 main reasons for that. First of all, you have to remember to undercut the competition to sell fast. This is especially the case since the new patch, as people can now freely release their now non-selling items at any given time for a better price. Also, remember that there is a 15% tax on transactions. And last but not least, give yourself a bit of room to play, especially until you are truly comfortable with trading. So now we know the minimum profit we are expecting. However, we need to look out to protect it as well. When looking for good deals on a buyout basis, this is very simple. You find it, you buy it, you're done. When bidding for items, however, you have to be careful or you're gonna have a bad time. To give you an example, let's have a look at a random bid-only item I just found. Now let's say you did bid on this item previously for a ridiculous price. You've come back before the item expires to check on it, and find that last displayed bid amount is getting close to your originally planned maximum buyout price. Say our limit for this specific item was originally 100k, and the item is now at 57,568 gold with a few minutes left to go. So, how much are you going to bid? 75k? 86,999? 100k? 100k plus 1? You see, there is no golden rule, and even with the best strategy, you will be outbid frequently. The main goal is trying to get the item as cheap as possible, while maximizing your chance to get it in the first place. Staying with the above example, this is what you can expect. Some of the people will most certainly bid by the suggested minimum bid amount. That's easy to combat. If you raise your bid high enough, they will fail unless they snipe the item. Other people will raise larger as well, however, they will use round numbers like 65k, 70k, 75k and so on. Maybe also they will bid a round number plus 1 gold if they feel tricky. Sometimes you will also discover patterns, like finding a new bid of 125k on several of your targeted items. This means that someone is on a similar strategy than yours. Now you can get yourself in a good position against all of these groups by bidding larger and avoiding round numbers. And as for the original question about the size of your bid here, honestly, I wouldn't mind anything around 100k until we follow the above guidelines and draw the line somewhere so we don't spend too much of our planned profit on getting the actual item. What you have to realize is that after you get a bit more used to this, you will not have an exact budget anyway anymore. The only thing that you will aim for is to remain more or less in line with your expectations. Whether you are bidding 5, 10 or even 100k more depending on the item compared to what would be optimal on paper becomes less important until you are happy with the profit you make. These are the very basics, and they are exactly the same if you are looking for a minimum 1 mil net profit per transaction. Once you got the hang of it, raise your expectations step by step. The only point you have to keep in mind is that the higher you go, the more you have to search on average for a good deal. So now we know in what price range we would like to work and what profit we are expecting as a minimum. From the previous videos, we know how to find these underpriced items, and now we have an idea how to protect our margin as well in case we are bidding. In our next video, we will put all of this into practice with the help of our first moneymaker recipe. If you are interested, don't forget to subscribe, and I see you soon on the money train.